Hello and welcome to the Cat House. This is Mr. MeowsAlot, and this week I read The Wellness Syndrome by Cederstrom and Andre Spicer. Andre Spicer and Cederstrom are professors of business and behavioral studies. One of them is at Stockholm University and the other is at City University in London. The book, as many of you are wondering, which one did I choose other for the 2 for $20? Well, this is it. It does appear as though it is a self-help manual. It is not. It is actually a criticism of self-help guides. And hold on, just so we see what's happening here with my hands, so you know what I'm doing. I am not pleasuring myself, I am pleasuring a pussy. So, to continue. That's Gray, by the way. He's our 12-year-old. Sorry about that. Now, as business behaviorists, and also human resource management is their study, the Wellness Syndrome is a criticism of self-help guides and of the current state of companies and business controlling staff and employees as products. They have an argument that I will use certain references from the book. It makes it much easier to understand what they're saying. They claim that many issues within the workplace and within society are being depoliticized in favor of a moral equation, which makes it far more likely to succeed in transitioning society into how these companies and the market wants their workers to proceed into the future. They say through a moral register we can stigmatize people, all the while telling ourselves that this is nothing to do with politics, it's simply about morality. In this way they avoid appearing as though they are forcing a healthier diet onto people, to sidestep accusations of Big Brother style interventions. They emphasize their role as mere facilitators, encouraging individuals to make the right choices and become an active partner in the drive for health, accepting their responsibility for securing their own well-being. This represents a stealthy reconfiguration of control. Now even the most intimate activities are visible to the corporate gaze, including what we eat, how much we sleep, and the amount we drink. This type of life hacking is not just the fatalistic realization that we are products to be sold on the market. The implicit message is much worse. We are products which, unless continuously upgraded, will rapidly become obsolete. We are offered these measured pleasures constantly, such as decaffeinated coffee, safe sex, fat-free chocolate, sugar-free soft drinks, and environmentally friendly SUVs, all the while being led by the nose by the market into the type of society that is basically distracted into becoming better people, when all that's happening is making us more of a slave. It's really fascinating stuff, particularly for me, who has not lived for 2 decades in Western culture and has never worked ever within a company office setting. I've worked in office settings, but very small offices, maybe 10 to 20 people, within a campus of separate departments that are spread across you know, a vast campus. So never like in one giant building with thousands of people working there, where even you have different departments, you're all basically blended together. And what this book talks about is how different companies, and it gives all these examples, that over the past couple of decades, how these different companies have managed to just really cement control over the personal lives of all of their employees, and actually begun to collate very personal information about their lifestyles and things like that, and been able to, he's off now, been able to dictate, literally dictate the lifestyles of their employees, and done it in a way that they are so accepting, as though they almost voted for it. For instance, isn't it great? My company buys us dinner every night. What is the feedback on that from these professors is, well, they're dictating what you eat, they're dictating when you go home, you're working past when you should be at home, you're still at work, and you think it's great. That's fucked. It reminds me of this microchipping that's happening in some companies now, where people are, you know, just pleased as pissed to be microchipped. So, oh, well, it's much easier to, you know, fucking get my soft drink out of the machine, or, you know, pay for parking at the office. When really, it's a GPS, it's a biometric fucking Big Brother thing that's happening. You know, they know where you are, what you're doing, probably what you're eating. It's crazy. And yeah, it's all done under morality of this is good for you, and really you're making this choice. They're turning desks into bicycles where you power your own computer, and so you're becoming fitter so that you can work more, live longer, you know, and never retire, you know. And you don't need to leave the office to go to the gym. Your gym's right here, right? All these companies that are making the office space fun and cool for, you know, millennials and all this, when really they're just fucking controlling your lives. They're making you into participants in your own slavery. Absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, I found it really interesting. It is 2 for $20. Now, not like the last book I reviewed, The Self-Illusion. This only had one typo, so that's pretty good. So why 2 for $20? Well, I presume it has to do with this very short piece within it, only a few pages really, where they discuss how there's control or a backlash against this controlling entity on business and society. And they talk about the gay community, and they talk about barebacking and breeding within the gay community as a bite back against this Orwellian control. And they got it completely wrong. These two guys obviously have never talked to anybody within the gay community except for doing this blurb in their book. Maybe who they talk to, this is in that clique, the definitions for the words barebacking and breeding, but they seem to think that barebacking and breeding within the gay community talks strictly about what do they call, bug chasers, which is people that want to get HIV, and so they bareback. And this comes from riding horses, right? With a saddle, and then without a saddle, you're barebacking on the horse. Bareback, no saddle. And here, in the context of sexuality, it means not using a condom. You're what others call riding raw, right? They seem to think that barebacking is a sort of kink where people are wanting to get HIV, and that's the thrill. And then the word breeding is, you know, they're going to breed you with HIV. This is absolute crap. I mean, in the heterosexual community also they use the words barebacking and breeding. It just means you're not using a fucking condom. And you talk to any guy, they prefer not to use a condom. Most guys, dependent on culture, do. In the Western culture, I think most guys do. In fact, I would say it's women, in my experience, that have been less likely to want to use a condom than me. And I've been, before I got married, 2 decades of using a condom and fucking hating it, but doing it because don't want to fucking get bugs and shit, you know? So yeah, the gay community talking about barebacking and breeding, it just means that they, you know, they're people that had sex and didn't use a condom, and you breeding, the sperm went in. It doesn't mean they're actually making babies. And I don't really fall for this and so crap about bug chasing is a thing in the gay community, but I think it's a very, very small thing, and I just don't think there's. You look up any fucking porn, and it's barebacking and breeding. It's just fucking coming and not using a condom. So I think they need to, in their second edition, just get rid of that section, because that's just crap. And I think that's why it's 2 for $20 in the fucking bookstore. Outside of that, I found it a really interesting read. If you don't know much about how the corporate world is working for employees right now, really freaking scary. And they do call it pseudo-Orwellian, this big brother kind of getting into your life completely with, you know, the microchipping and the determining when and where you eat and what you eat and exercise and making it all sound like they're on your side. They want you to do it. But what it's doing is they're saying self-help is bullshit. It's not a change in diet or a change in attitude is going to fix everything. That's bullshit. And that's what they say. Very interesting stuff. From the Cat House, this is Mr. MeowsAlot. Take care and happy trails.